So, if you're going to be launching a book, chances are you want a book trailer to go with it, or even multiple. For my own, I had a main book trailer, a launch trailer, and character teaser trailers. The most difficult one was the main trailer because it allows people to understand what the story is about. If you do a particularly good job, you should essentially just use your, the back of your book and condense it down, maybe if it's a little bit too complicated, and have that as your main trailer to try and sell your book and get people interested. For a launch trailer, it's basically reused assets from maybe the main trailer of just hyping up that it's about to launch, and it's a bit snappier, a bit quicker, which for mine included some early reviews. And then I also had character teaser trailers, which were simple when compared against the main trailer, which just sort of teased each character and an item to do with it. But in today's video, I'm just going to focus on the main trailer and how I sort of broke down my synopsis to try and help me establish scene. Now, if you don't have a synopsis or blurb, I recommend creating one first before doing this, because in doing so, you're getting it clear in your mind what your story is about before you're tackling a trailer, because you need to know that really before trying to make a trailer out of your book. But yes, if we focus on the actual synopsis, so this first sentence that we have here definitely signals to me that there is a change in scene just simply because of the vast lifeless wasteland that is mentioned in the second one. So the next one, which is, to the east remains a vast lifeless wasteland off balance of the world, plagued by toxic haze and rumours of something unnatural in it. Now, although it's quite a mouthful, it could be broken up perhaps into simpler sentences, but on the whole, there's nothing that visual to it. I mean, a vast lifeless wasteland with haze, you're probably going to have like a toxic hazy sort of thing going on, which is what I did. And then with the rumours of something natural in it, have that with audio to sort of accompany it. So this entire bit here is going to be like one next scene. The next step, which is tensions heighten between two of the largest settlements when the border is violated and blood is spilt. Luther, head of security in Carbon City, must... so immediately you see that it kind of switches on to the next thing when it talks about Luther. So tensions heightening between two large settlements when the border is violated and blood is spilt. That, to me, is going to make something, good visually to look at. And that would then be just sort of the next... Oh, you can't really see that orange, can you? But that'll be alright. That'll be the next scene for the trailer. Which goes on to the next one. But yes, with Luther, head of security in Carbon City, must investigate to lessen the risk of war breaking out, while Zara, one of those involved in conflict, finds herself lost in the wasteland. So again, there's two obvious sections here. One is about Luther and one is about Zara. So you would have, let's get a different colour, that might be too dark, but essentially that's going to be for Luther. The colours aren't really translating here, but never mind. Luther, head of security, you're going to have maybe an art piece of him there with the background of the city, with this sort of writing flowing over it as he's pondering what he can do to help out. And then when it switches over to Zara, that will then be another different scene, which I'm not sure how this is going to look. But yeah, she's basically found herself in the wasteland, believed to be an uninhabitable place. She quickly realizes she is not alone. Now, I know I've just partly highlighted that, but this section here, I'm not sure. I don't know what, I can't quite remember what I've done here. So I believe I actually included this last sentence in the Zara one. So I actually think, although I'm tempted to break this up now reading it, I believe I did actually have this sort of all as one. But it could very easily have been two separate scenes. I think the reason why I had it included is because she's in the wasteland, which is the same place that she's in, and it's talking about this place being uninhabitable. And I think for the sake of simplicity for the trailer, having two shots of the same place very closely together might have added confusion to whether she was actually in that location. So instead, I opted to have this as one scene, just to make it simple and that she is in this uninhabitable place, and have the background and art show that she's in that place. And then we've got elsewhere, Shelby is kidnapped and forced to take part in a dangerous mission in the heart of the wasteland. That is going to obviously be one scene. I'm sorry, the highlighting colours again aren't just not doing it, are they? Displaced by events beyond their control, will Luther, Zara and Shelby find what they need before it's too late? And that, of course, is the final one, which you're now talking about all of the three main characters. And if you've got the art for it, which I did, I then brought it all together at the end where the characters are side by side, with a bit of an outro and the end of the trailer, which was the soundtrack, and then obviously a promotional bit at the end. I think I had a promotional bit at the end, or at least a day saying coming soon. I might have just had the book, picture of the book sort of saying coming soon with the book cover, because you want people to know what the book looks like, so it's important to have that at the end. But yeah, so that is how I broke my trailer up and how I decided on the scenes. So, read through yours, feel where there's a natural stop. So it was quite obvious to sort of see where the natural stop is, but again with this Zara one, where it was sort of the same place and it felt like you should break it up, doing so would have been too complicated. And you don't want to make your trailer too complicated to follow, because it's supposed to be simple. It's for people that don't know anything about your book. So you're introducing them to the characters, you're introducing them to the story and the world. You need to make it as simple and as easy to follow as possible. And then now with this in mind, you basically want to think about what you need for it. So if you look at this first one, it mentions about a city being rebuilt or society rebuilding. So the first thing I would do is, at least in my story, I had a very clear city that one of my characters was in. So create that city. I done it with a bit of photo manipulation plus a bit of art and drew it up. That will give a good background that I can then use a couple of times throughout the trailer, this one city. So I used it in this first bit, and then I also used it for this point over here as well, which was with Luther when he was there in front of it with his sort of line from the synopsis. Then for the second one, which I will get a different pen for, so this one here, it's sort of talking about a vast, lifeless wasteland with haze. So for me, the cheaty, more easier option was just getting the haze, creating some haze. So having haze as the background was the easier option than actually going and creating another wasteland, which in hindsight, I ended up making a wasteland for, I think it was this one. So Zara, she had the wasteland, which, maybe I could have used that actually for the initial one, but I used the city twice, and although it's good to reuse assets, I don't want to feel like I've cheaped out too much. So it had the city rebuilding for the first bit, then it had some haze, which the haze I made in After Effects with some of their sort of native effects within it, with YouTube tutorials. And actually, I've just realized we've missed a bit. So this point here, we've got all the colors going on, haven't we? This bit here was tensions heightened between two of the largest settlements when the border is violated and blood is spilt. So I used the effect of blood in water. I think I downloaded it for free, or maybe just a couple of dollars off of a site. I think it was called Video Hive. You can just sort of buy videos for a couple of dollars and use them in your projects. There are also free alternatives as well. But what this did is, with this sort of blood effect, because it was kind of close up, I could blend the haze in front of it, so it eased into the scene far easier. So at one point, you've got this haze going on, which is kind of moving a little bit. And then when it actually goes on to the next scene, I've blended it with the haze. So it is essentially feels like one scene, but not really. It kind of adapts and moves into the next one instead of having a clear cut. And then, of course, from this, it then fades back into the city again, which was at the beginning, with Luther in front of it this time, which was, of course, art that was produced for it. And then after Luther, it then goes into the wasteland with Zara, the person in the wastelands, sort of positioned in front of it. Now, they are two separate bits, so all the character art in this was separate from the background. I've just put them over top, just to show who is where, and give people a better indication of where the characters are, and also a little bit of what they look like. Now for Shelby's, it was a scene that Sarah had drawn where it's got a bit of ocean in it, a bit of haze in it, and it sort of followed Shelby's path a bit more in his storyline and added a different visual effect, and that added some different colours to it, a slightly different feel. So watery, I don't know, watery haze I had. I feel like it was. Well, it wasn't haze, but you know, I added some effects over top. But yeah, that leads us to the last shot, which had the 3 character art pieces side by side with each other. And the background for that was just a bit of colour, kind of like the book really, just the theme colours, like the branding colour for Displaced. It was a little bit of that, and then just laid them over top. So it didn't have to be anything too fancy. And then of course, at the very end, you have the pre-order period where then hopefully entice people to sort of go and pre-order the book, hopefully. And then amongst that as well, another little sprinkle of haze just to sort of add to the effect. And of course, because this sprinkle of haze was used in the previous scene with all the characters, it's sort of tied to the end bit into the pre-order bit to sort of just to give a little bit more flow. But yeah, I mean, I kept away from voice acting and live action just because for me it adds an element of cheese, and I wanted to do most of this myself. And of course, if I'd done acting and whatever myself, it probably wouldn't have been any good at all. So I went towards the art direction. Obviously, I've got Sarah, who was able to draw my characters, but you can find lots of options online, along with tutorials as well, if you've got the time to learn how to do it. And hopefully from this, you're able to break down your own trailer and scenes that you need, backgrounds that you can use perhaps more than once just to save you some time, along with perhaps characters that you want drawn up for it, sound effects that can accompany it, and highlight pieces from the synopsis. But yes, start bringing in your assets, start making them, start finding people that can help you out with them to build on your trailer. And then once you have all the assets ready to go, you can import it into your chosen software, which for me was a mixture of After Effects and Premiere Pro, which are Adobe products, along with Photoshop. But if perhaps you don't have the funds to get the art done for a minute, even just do simple sketches yourself. Just have a very, very quick sketch. I had another trailer idea before the actual trailer that I'd done. I sketched it terribly out myself, added the effects in, and tried out the path of the trailer to see if it would work. Now, it was, I think, a cool concept, but it was a lot of work, and I don't know whether it really worked quite as well. It was verging on like the 3D sort of dimension aspect, which again is getting into more like live action stuff, and considering the time frame that I wanted to get the book out from, 2D was a much safer and easier and simpler way to go. This another initial idea that I had was definitely worth a try. I learned a lot from just scratching out some designs and piecing it together, but in doing that I realized that I shouldn't waste any time sort of chasing it any further, because it was just too much. Like, I didn't need to go that far with it. The other trailer that I then planned out was far better, far easier to manage, and of course I could do the majority of it myself. So just keep that in mind. If you have a sick trailer idea and you're like, oh, this is amazing, but I don't think it's possible, is there a way you can just bring it back slightly to make it more achievable, either within your budget or your time frame? Because the most important thing of the day is just to make sure you get the idea of your story across to the reader, and hopefully it'll help you sell some of your books. But yes, that's it for this video. Hopefully it's helped you out. Let me know if you want any more in-depth discussions to do with parts of the process that I've been at, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers for watching.